It's only Monday, and we already have some of the biggest, I don't know, what do you call them? Juiciest stories to talk about that we can take something from. Yeah, ripped out of the headlines, but what's it mean to you and me and normal folks? Well, there's a couple of sports stories to talk about. The WNBA players, they're learning what value in a workplace is all about. Maybe they've never learned this lesson before, but they're learning it now because the backlash has been crazy. Here's another sports story for you. And so often sports kind of reflects what's going on in society. Are the Washington Redskins back because of President Trump's Truth Socials over the weekend? Maybe. And oh yeah, wait a minute. Let's see what else happened in the news over the weekend. Oh yeah, just one small little detail. We might actually have justified treason charges for former White House officials coming down the pike, which I also didn't believe. And I know the mindset might be, oh, come on, they can let her schmetter. Doesn't matter what Tulsi Gabbard came out with, and nothing ever happens with these things. And I was thinking the exact same thing before yesterday afternoon when I saw Tulsi Gabbard's interview with Maria Bartiromo, because to me, that changed everything. It was unbelievable. Because, I mean, honestly, there have been, just in my little bar top here, what are some of the stories that have come across just doing the live stream? Potential war, right? We've had presidential elections. We've had, we talked about Trump last summer surviving an assassination attempt for a U.S. president. Can you think of anything more serious than a coup? And it sounds even strange talking about these things. An actual coup that took place, and now they have the goods on them. So there's the question. Would treason charges be justified? I think when you hear her, it may change your mind. But let's start it off with something light. Thanks for finding the Wicked Radio live stream. Appreciate you. And all the other social media platforms, you'll find Wicked Wisdom with Bill Adams with all that good stuff. Audio podcast, too, which you may be listening on already. Thank you so much for the downloads. Make sure you press download on that so you know when the future episodes are coming. But let's get to this. Let's start it up with something light, but I think no less important. And I talked about this, did a little special yesterday, some weekend wisdom. If you didn't hear this, I'll repeat it again because I've got even more thoughts, as you can imagine, on this, about the WNBA players on Saturday night coming out into the court, unified effort. Well, good for them, because they want more money. And they are all wearing T-shirts. And let me look at the picture to make sure I have this right, because I don't want to, God forbid you misquote or, slander somehow WNBA players. Pay us what you owe us, was the statement from the WNBA. Ugh. Well, everybody should be paid what they're owed, right? I totally understand that. But here's the lesson that they're learning in a harsh kind of way right about now, which if you're an employer of some organization, or if you yourself, and I know we got a lot of business owners in the audience, if you are responsible for a paycheck, you've already learned this lesson long, long time ago. Because here's the thing. Here's why they're barking up the wrong tree, and that's a tall ask for these players. Verified. Check out any source you want. You can go to ChatGPT, a plain old Google search. You can look up the public documents. You can go to Grok, whatever it is. And you ask whether the WNBA in its, I think, 30-year history now? Yeah, I think it's actually that old. Whether it's ever turned a profit. And the answer is no. That league has never made money. Ever. But now, probably based on the attention they're getting because of Caitlin Clark, a player that they've done nothing to protect, but the only reason why people are watching that league now is because of her. Now they're asking for more money. This isn't going to go well for them at all. And most people who work for an organization are saying, boy, I couldn't do that. Man, if my company that I work for wasn't making any money, wasn't turning a profit, I'd never dare ask for a raise. Now, somebody who would say that is somebody that's been in the workforce for quite some time, right? And I'll never forget the first time I ever learned that. And this was, oh my God, I think maybe even like a part-timer at the time, like the first radio job, And I was asking for something, I don't know, pathetic, like a $2,000 or $5,000 raise or something. And my GM at the time, the boss of the radio station, said to me directly, very correctly, by the way, and I'm so glad he did, actually. He said, are you making me more than $2,000 of profit to cover for what you're asking for? Like, or if it was $5,000, whatever the amount is, are you making me the money to be able to pay you to justify it? And of course my answer was no. not understanding that. But what he was saying was, before you even go in to ask for any kind of a raise, whether you're like an electrician or a plumber or an accountant or a WNBA player, whatever it is, you have to know what your value is to that organization. And your value isn't, you're a nice person. No. Or I plan in the future to make the company a lot more money. No, that doesn't work either. What do you make this company right now to justify asking for more money? And this is a concept with these WNBA players that is totally lost. Probably not even their fault. These are star athletes that have always been awesome. They've been passed along probably through school. They've been treated like queens because they had a talent to be able to dribble a basketball and shoot sometimes. So they're learning this for the very first time, something that most of us have already learned, and it's key as well. It's a great thing to teach kids as well. Before you ask for that pay raise, you have to know your value, not your worth as a person, but your value to that organization before you ask for the money. We've all learned it at some point if we're all adults. And if you haven't learned that, it comes at you hard. So I don't know how this is going to go for the WNBA, but we'll see. But the great thing is, it started this whole discussion about asking for pay raises. I see this chatter online all the time, too. And like I said, if you've got young kids, like in their 20s, just entering the workforce, it's a great example to bring up to them. It really is. Here's the other thing, too, about knowing your value in an organization. Because if you've ever gone through that, if you've ever been like kicked in the shins, like I'm sure we all have when you ask for that raise and get turned down, it forces you to look back and to really understand. You say, well, this is what I do, and this translates to more money. More often than not, it forces you to actually understand your own value. And more often than not, you say, I do make a lot of money for this company. So it's a great process to go through. So I don't know if the WNBA players are going to learn that, but they can if they want to. All right. We got to get the story of, I said this to a friend of mine last night. This might be the story of our lifetime. I've said that the problem is I've said that 3 or 4 times over the past year and a half, but this might be actually the story of our lifetime. If something comes from it, okay? Now we've got Tulsi Gabbard, Director of National Intelligence, who everybody says, remember just a week ago? Remember this? Everybody was saying, well, she's not doing anything. She's not producing anything. She's useless. What do these people do? Yeah, okay. I think she was working pretty hard behind the scenes after this revelation. So Friday, this comes out. Now, of course, we all looked for it to see if this got any national attention from the mainstream media. No one's talking about it. Maybe a brief mention on ABC. But the weekend talking head talk shows like Meet the Depressed, no, they're not all talking about it. No, they're not talking about it because they're part and parcel of what happened here. Now, to explain it better than I ever could, in a very succinct kind of way, the great Maria Bartiromo on Fox News Business set up the interview with Tulsi Gabbard in a great way. This is why she's so good. I was telling you this a couple of weeks ago. She gets the best interviews from these people because she asks great questions. Here's the setup of exactly what we're talking about from Maria.
DNA Tulsi Gabbard is now calling for prosecutions, revealing declassified documents from the Russia collusion made-up investigation, which she says detail a treasonous conspiracy by officials at the highest level of the Obama White House to stop incoming President Donald Trump.
So, in casual conversation, what are we talking about? What we all know now as the Russia hoax, 1 and 2, that Trump was, brought up on charges for, he was impeached for. This went on and on and on for years. And, Doug, you probably dogged this in casual conversation. Maybe even didn't even vote for Trump, but you heard it. You heard it at a barbecue or a picnic, work, a boardroom conversation, a Zoom call back in the day, because we lived through that too. Trump's a Russia. He's a Putin puppet, right? They fixed the elections. And maybe you're of, sound mind, and you said, well, how did they influence the election? Like how, what, with memes on Facebook? Well, I don't know. But the news told me that Russia got Trump elected, and he had years and years and years of this. But now, because of what Tulsi Gabbard has discovered, we have kicked this up into a whole new notch because it was pretty much understood. There was no evidence there whatsoever that Trump colluded with Russia. There just wasn't. And that's just being objective. And that's not a right-left thing. That's not a Democrat-Republican thing. That's just facts. That's what that is. But wait a minute. something a little bit deeper here. Hold on. Where did all this come from is now the question. Who directed it? You may have had your suspicions. Sure, absolutely. Well, she pretty much laid it out in this interview yesterday and from the documents on Friday.
But there's no question in my mind that this intelligence community assessment that President Obama ordered be published, which contained a manufactured intelligence document. It's worse than even politicization of intelligence. It was manufactured intelligence that sought to achieve President Obama and his team's objective, which was undermining President Trump's presidency. And
okay, and that lays it out again. Very simply said, and there it is. And they've got the smoking gun in the form of documents, which is how the swamp works, to show where this all came. So a manufactured document that they ordered, that he, according to Tulsi Gabbard, that Obama ordered, get the intelligence officials on something that shows that Trump won this election with the help of Russia, get it out there, and base all of this speculation and all of this action going forward on it. And remember the time. This happened while Trump was already duly elected by the American people in 2016. So this is early 2017 before Obama was supposed to leave office. And then all hell broke loose because of the Russia collusion hoaxes, right? And then the impeachments, and then all the talk, and then all that consternation, and CNN running with it every single day. Well, now here we are. And you may be like I. In the mindset normally, it's amazing how Americans were like forgiving, but we also, you don't want revenge, right? And I was of the exact same mindset you may be right now, heading into Sunday. Because I had looked into the documents, I read the story, and I said, wow, that's, okay, well, that looks pretty irrefutable to me. But do you want to live in a country where it's political revenge, like the revengey kind of stuff, you know what I mean? Where Trump would go after Obama personally, or all of these underlings in that administration, all the people that were in the intelligence community. Do we want them in handcuffs doing a perp walk? And then you hear the details. And this is what changed my mind on it as well. Then you hear the details. And Tulsi Gabbard going on in that same interview to explain, to win back the trust of the American people, you can't ever have this kind of thing happening, no matter who it is. And I will sit here today and I will assure you, this is just me talking, I would want the same thing to happen to no matter who is in that White House. If you ordered a phony intelligence document to go after your political rivals, I don't care if you're a Republican, Independent, Democrat, you have to pay some kind of a price. So if you're talking about the actual T word, not Trump, treason word and treason charges, which sounds like Tulsi Gabbard is very set on. In fact, the question later on in the interview was by Maria Bartiromo, and she's great because she asks direct questions with no fluff in between. Do you foresee charges coming, treason charges coming to anybody in that administration responsible for this? Tulsi Gabbard said, that's not in my purview, but we are bringing more information to that end. So that's up to the Attorney General, that's up to the FBI and CIA to do that, but I'm just providing the information. But she sounded dead set and serious and understanding that somebody has to pay a price for this. And in my mind, after hearing her say that, even beyond the document release on Friday, it's absolutely but you cannot have this. I don't know what this is going to lead to. None of us knows, right? Because we've never really been in this situation. We just haven't. Of all the crazy crap that's happened over the few years that we've all seen and all become aware of, and that's part of this, is the information is out there for everybody now. But none of us have actually lived in a world like this in our country where it's like, wow, a presidential administration that was in office just a couple of years ago, some of them may be going to jail. Or if you're talking about national treason charges, worse. Maybe. Is it going to happen? Who the hell knows? But we've never come so close as to this happening before. And my mind was changed by listening to her when she said, you can't ever have this kind of thing happening from any administration, ever. And to win back the trust of the American people, because there is no trust right now in the intelligence community and the swamp and the deep state we were told that doesn't exist without this. So treason charges coming? I don't know. Justified? Somebody's got to pay a price because I think, in my opinion, the worst thing that would happen is if you let this go without anybody going to jail, it's 1,000 times worse than what we're living through right now with that. With zero, there will be underwater. There will be less than zero trust in the intelligence community or the Department of Justice. These are wild times. But there's the speculation. Oh, he wouldn't really. Still, most of us are still saying there's nothing going to happen from this. Nothing's going to go on. Who the heck knows? But hold on. Because President Trump himself was going crazy on Truth Social. Busy man, posting a lot of stuff. You know what one of the things he posted was? Memes. Memes of President Obama in handcuffs, going to jail. Members of that intelligence community back then in that administration paying a price. And one other thing, too, which I thought was fascinating. President Trump posted, he didn't make this, but reposted it, somebody from somebody else, like a montage and a loop of all of those same people now who allegedly were responsible for this coup, as Tulsi Gabbard calls it, all saying the same thing. Remember what we all learned about propaganda? When they all say the same thing in the exact same way, that's propaganda. Well, what did they say during the time? Remember we always heard this phrase? No one's above the law? Well, Trump posted this.
No one, especially the president, is above the law.
No one is above the law.
No one is above the law.
No one is above the law.
Nobody is above the law.
No one is above the law.
You might have even seen that. Don't know if you've seen the President of the United States of America post that. That may change your mind on whether or not charges are coming for somebody. I don't know who, I don't know when, but they are. Here's the one thing we should know. They are dead serious on making sure somebody pays a price on this. I mean, would part of that be personal? Would part of that be personal revenge from Trump? Yeah, of course it would. And is it justified? I don't care what your position is. If somebody had tried to throw me in jail, kill me, and raided my house, all related back to this, all of it, would you want revenge? It would be tough for me to be honest with you and tell you I wouldn't want revenge, because I would, to be honest with you. But there's a bigger issue here. For the country, would you want revenge? Well, let's not call it revenge. Would you want somebody to pay a price for this to make sure it doesn't happen again? Think of it in those terms. Yeah, I think any reasonable person would. I think so. So here's the thing to watch out. Here's the takeaway to watch out for the media this week. It's only Monday. Like I said, you're going to hear this all week long. No, you're going to hear this until this thing is settled, until somebody actually is facing charges for this. You're going to hear the same propaganda. Instead of nobody's above the law, you're going to hear President Trump taking out political rivals. President Trump, vengeance. President Trump, payback. You're going to hear those kinds of things. Mark my words. That's how they're going to try to spin this. We'll see. I don't know. Speaking of President Trump, he wasn't just talking about treason. He was also talking about sports. Now, this is fascinating. Now, so often, I try not to make it all about politics, but you can't avoid it. But so often, what's going on in the sports world reflects what's going on in our world, right? Not so much as fans, but just people living in this society. In 2025, the United States of America, like things that are going on. Well, we all know what happened a couple of years ago, and probably the height of wokeness, when several of the teams, most notably the Washington Redskins, were forced to change their logo and name because it was deemed, this is the important part, offensive to some people. But who were the people? Cleveland Indians changed their name to the Cleveland Guardians. Boy, is that a downgrade. That's just a stupid name. I'm sorry, Cleveland fans. It just is. You probably agree with me. And here's the thing. A ton of the Washington football fans agree with me as well. Not happy with it. They still have thousands and thousands of people at their home games showing up in Redskins gear to make a statement. Still posting things under the Redskins name. Still. Well, isn't this interesting? President Trump jumps on, you guessed it, Truth Social once again to talk about this particular issue. Is it time to go back to the Washington Redskins? He's actually posted about this before. He's talked about it before because he, like a lot of people, thought it was ridiculous that they even changed the name. So he sends one test balloon out there, and he says it's time. We're a different society. The Washington Redskins should go back. Interesting. Interesting that we have a president now that reads the tea leaves and reads the response, and he says, and he looked at the responses he got from his post on Truth Social, and he's not done. He did a follow-up post about his original post about the Washington Redskins, where he says this. I won't read the whole thing. My statement of the Redskins is totally blown up, but only in a very positive way. Now it gets really interesting. So here's the background of this story. The Redskins are about to move to downtown D.C. I think they've secured a land deal or financing something to move the stadium to D.C. instead of the suburbs. Well, listen to this. I may put a restriction on them if they don't change the name back to the original Washington Redskins and get rid of the ridiculous moniker Commanders. I won't make a deal for them to build a stadium in Washington. The team would be much more valuable, and the deal would be more exciting for everybody. And then he goes and talks about the Indians. Cleveland should do the same. If you were the owner of the Washington Redskins, right? Let's start with this. Would it surprise you at all if he's in cahoots with President Trump? Because it's way more valuable for that guy to go back to an original name, to go back to the old gear. And plus, you'd get headlines forever, even if a lot of them are negative, right? Ask yourself this. Would it surprise you if the owner of the Redskins, and maybe the Indians, Guardians, is in cahoots with Trump to get a green light to go ahead and make the change? This is like this short of it's like a presidential pardon in the sports world, right? Trump threatens to hold up financing for the stadium. So the owner comes back and he says, I know that some of you are offended. We're so sorry. But in order to finance our new downtown stadium, we have to change our name back to, you guessed it.
Hail to the Redskins. Hail victory.
Remember the old original NFL teams? They had like rally songs like that. You know, like they were college teams. They were so cool. Now here's the thing. You may still be thinking, Redskins, well, that's very racist. There was an old classic Chris Rock joke about it too. He said that's about the most racist thing of all time, possibly. Poll after poll they've done from the team and just fan-based sites in general about should the team go back to the original name. Overwhelmingly, every single poll they've ever done is people say yes. Here's another thing. This is sports lore that goes back years. And you can verify it yourself. Any search term, any Google search, anything you want to do, public records, anything sports history about who designed the original Washington Redskins logo. And if you think back now, sports fans, you think about the Indian Chief it's a profile with the feathers in the back, and it was a classic-looking logo and great team colors as well. Ask yourself this, because I did again, just as a refresher. Who designed the Redskins logo? And here's your answer. Washington Redskins logo, used from 72 to 2020, that's a long time, was designed by Walter Blackie Wetzel. Who is Walter? A member of the Blackfeet Nation and former chairman of the Blackfeet tribe. That's something the regular news media didn't tell you. So a member of the Blackfeet Nation designed the Redskins logo. That right there should tell you everything you need to know. I go back to the same reasoning on this whole thing. Nobody that's ever put a Native American on a team name or a logo or an image ever did it to disparage that group of people, ever. Because you put it on because you saw them as courageous and fierce. That's what you name a team after. Nobody said the Redskins to disparage them. And the logo itself came from a member of the Blackfeet Nation, the tribe. I think he was okay with it, to be honest with you. So who knows? Maybe it's coming back. First takeaway today, you got to know your value before you ask for that raise. You got to know how much money you make the company before you go with the big ask. WNBA players are learning that today. And are treason charges coming? I don't know. Nobody knows. But after the weekend, do you think they're more justified than ever? Maybe. Hey, it's only Monday. Let's get going with it. Thanks for finding the live stream, the podcast as well, audio podcast, wherever you like to get those. If you're watching or listening later on a replay, thanks for the follows. Please do that and put notifications on for when you know we're going. I'm out of material. I've already taken up too much of your time, but there'll be more tomorrow. Make it a wicked awesome Monday. We'll talk to you later.